Good afternoon. Today's topic is sphenoid bone. As you can see, this is the sphenoid bone. It is a central unpaired bone and it is resembling the shape of a butterfly or a bat with outstretched wings. Right? So this is the sphenoid bone and it is resembling the shape of a bat or a butterfly with outstretched wings. Now coming to the different parts of sphenoid bone, it has got 7 parts. It has got a body, it has got 2 greater wings, it has got 2 lesser wings, and it has got 2 pterygoid processes. These are the pterygoid processes. So I repeat, it has got a body, it has got 2 lesser wings, it has got 2 greater wings, and it has got 2 pterygoid processes. So coming to the individual bone, here you can see it has got a body, it has got 2 greater wings, lesser wing is broken here, and here you have 2 pterygoid processes. So these are the 7 parts. You have a body, 2 lesser wings, 2 greater wings, and 2 pterygoid processes. So first of all, we will see the body. Body, as you can see here, it is cuboidal in shape, and it contains the pair of sphenoidal air sinuses. You can see the air sinuses here, sphenoidal air sinus. So this is the body, which is cuboidal in shape, and it contains the sphenoidal air sinuses, and it has got 6 surfaces. It has got a superior surface, an inferior surface, an anterior surface, a posterior surface, and 2 lateral surfaces. I repeat, it is cuboidal in shape. It has got 6 surfaces: a superior surface, an inferior surface, anterior surface, posterior surface, and 2 lateral surfaces. So first we will learn about the superior surface. Superior surface has got the following landmarks. As you can see here, this triangular projection is called ethmoid spine, and it is present between the 2 lesser wings. This triangular projection, that is called the ethmoidal spine. It is located between the 2 lesser wings, and it is articulating with the posterior margin of the cribriform plate. These are the cribriform plates, and it is articulating with the posterior margin of cribriform plate. So you have ethmoidal spine. Behind that you have this flattened plate of bone, that is called jugum sphenoidae. Jugum sphenoidae. Behind that you have the sulcus. That sulcus is known as sulcus chiasmaticus. It contains the optic chiasma, and it leads on either sides to the optic canal, which transmits the optic nerve. So sulcus chiasmaticus, which is usually occupied by the optic chiasma, leading on to either side to the optic canal, which transmits the optic nerve. Behind the jugum sphenoidae, the posterior margin of jugum sphenoidae, here you can see a horizontal elevation on the posterior margin of sulcus chiasmaticus. This horizontal elevation is called tuberculum sellae. Tuberculum sellae is a horizontal elevation forming the posterior limit of sulcus chiasmaticus, and on either side it has got small conical projections. These conical projections are called middle clinoid process. Now behind the tuberculum sellae you have got a fossa, a depression which lodges the pituitary gland, that is called hypophyseal fossa. Behind the hypophyseal fossa you have got the dorsum sellae, which is a square plate of bone which project upwards, and on either end it has also got a conical projection on either side, and this conical projection is called posterior clinoid process. So to repeat, you have the ethmoidal spine, which is a triangular projection between the 2 lesser wings, articulating with the posterior margin of cribriform plate. Behind that you have this flattened piece of bone called jugum sphenoidae. Behind that you have the sulcus chiasmaticus with optic chiasma leading on to optic canal on either side. The posterior margin, you have got a horizontal elevation called tuberculum sellae. On either end of tuberculum sellae you have the middle clinoid process. Posterior to tuberculum sellae you have the hypophyseal fossa lodging the pituitary gland. Posterior to hypophyseal fossa you have the dorsum sellae, and on either end of dorsum sellae you have the posterior clinoid process. I repeat, you have the ethmoidal spine, you have the jugum sphenoidae, you have the sulcus chiasmaticus, you have the tuberculum sella, you have the hypophyseal fossa, and you have the dorsum sella. Now as you have learned already, Sella turcica is a collective name that is given to this tuberculum sella, hypophyseal fossa and the dorsum sella. Together, this saddle-like structure is called Sella turcica. It is a collective name for tuberculum sellae, hypophyseal fossa and dorsum sellae, and it is called so because it resembles a Turkish saddle. That is why it is called Sella turcica. So that is about the superior surface. Now coming to the inferior surface. Inferior surface has got three features mainly. So here you can see that in the inferior surface there is a median ridge. This is the median ridge in the inferior surface that is called sphenoidal rostrum. It occupies the groove between the alae of Vomer. And on either side of this median ridge called sphenoid rostrum, you have the triangular plate. The triangular plate of bone on either side of this sphenoidal rostrum is called sphenoidal concha, and sphenoidal concha will articulate with the alae of Vomer. So I will show you Vomer. This is the Vomer, and on either side you have the ala of Vomer. The ala of Vomer is articulating with the sphenoidal concha. In the middle there is a groove. In between the ala of Vomer there is a groove, and this groove is occupied by the sphenoidal rostrum. Okay, so once more, on the inferior surface a median ridge is present that is called the sphenoidal rostrum. It occupies the groove in between the alae of Vomer, and on either side of sphenoidal rostrum you have a triangular piece of bone that is called sphenoidal concha. It is articulating with the alae of Vomer. Then you have vaginal process. This is the vaginal process. This triangular piece of bone is called vaginal process, and it is a triangular bony shelf that is projecting downward and medially from the base of each medial pterygoid plate. This is the lateral pterygoid plate and this is the medial pterygoid plate. And the vaginal process is a triangular bony shelf that is projecting medially and downwards from the base of each medial pterygoid plate, and it helps in forming the vomerovaginal and palatovaginal canals. Okay, then coming to the posterior surface. Posterior surface, as you can see, it is quadrilateral in shape and it is articulating by a plate of hyaline cartilage with the base occiput. You have already seen this. This is the base sphenoid and this is the base occiput. So you can see that the posterior surface of the body of sphenoid is articulating with the base occiput, and together they form this inclination, inclining up to the foramen magnum, and that inclination is known as clivus. Then on lateral surface, these are the lateral surfaces, and as you can see, each lateral surface of the body joins with the greater wing of sphenoid laterally and the pterygoid process which are projecting downwards. So these are the lateral surface, and you can see that the lateral surface at the lateral surface of the body joins the greater wing of sphenoid which is projecting laterally and the pterygoid process which is extending downwards. This is the lateral surface, this is the greater wing of sphenoid, and this is the pterygoid plates. Now the lateral surface also presents a groove. As you can see here, there is a groove here, and that groove is called carotid sulcus, and that groove is produced by internal carotid artery. So in the lateral surface we have got the greater wing of sphenoid and the pterygoid process attaching, and also you have the groove for internal carotid artery. Then coming to the lesser wing. Now we have studied about the body. Now coming to the lesser wing, these are the lesser wings, right? Okay. So the lesser wing arises from the anterior part of the body of sphenoid. This is the body of sphenoid. It is arising from the anterior part of body of sphenoid by two roots. Okay, it is arising from the anterior part of body of sphenoid by two roots. This is the lesser wing. And between these two roots, you can see a canal, that is the optic canal. You can see the optic canal which transmits the optic nerve. And the projecting medial ends of the lesser wing on either side, they are called the anterior clinoid process. So the projecting medial end of the lesser wing is the anterior clinoid process. On either side of tuberculum celli, you have the middle clinoid process. On either side of dorsum celli, you have the posterior clinoid process. Okay. Now coming to the greater wing. Now as you can see, each greater wing spans out laterally from the side of the body. It is spanning out from the side of the body, greater wings, and it is forming the floor of middle cranial fossa. This is the middle cranial fossa. This is anterior cranial fossa. This is middle cranial fossa. This is posterior cranial fossa. And as you can see, the greater wings are forming the floor of middle cranial fossa. Now the greater wing has got three surfaces. It has got an upper surface. This is the upper surface. It has got an anterior surface or the orbital surface, and it has got a lateral surface or the infratemporal surface. I repeat, the greater wing has got an upper surface which is forming the middle cranial fossa. It has got a lateral surface which is forming the infratemporal surface, and it has got an anterior surface which is the orbital surface. So again in this bond you can see this is the superior surface of the greater wing which is forming the middle cranial fossa, floor of middle cranial fossa. Then you have the lateral surface. This is the lateral surface or the infratemporal surface, right? And then you have the anterior surface which is forming the orbital part. This is the anterior or orbital surface forming the lateral wall of orbit. So I repeat, it has got three surfaces. It has got a upper surface or the which is forming the floor of middle cranial fossa. It has got a lateral surface or the infratemporal surface, and it has got an anterior surface of orbital surface, right? This is the anterior surface of the orbital surface. Now coming to the greater wing of sphenoid. In the greater wing of sphenoid, you have got four foramina that are arranged roughly in a semicircular manner. Here you can see the four foramina that are arranged in a semicircular manner. So we will see each of these foramen. First of all, here you can see the foramen spinosa. Foramen spinosa is the posterior most located foramen. It is located at the posterior tip of the greater wing. It is so called because on the undersurface of greater wing, you can see on the undersurface of the greater wing at this point you can see the spine. That spine is known as spinosphenoid. And just next to the spinosphenoid you can appreciate the foramen spinosa, right? So this is the foramen spinosa. It is the posterior most foramen. The foramen spinosa, the posterior most foramen. And very next to that posterior most foramen you can see the spinosphenoid, that is why it is called foramen spinosa. Now next to it you can see this is the foramen ovale. This is the foramen ovale, and it is obvious why it is called foramen ovale, because of its oval shape. It is located just in front and medial to foramen spinosa. This is foramen spinosa. Just in front and medially you have the foramen ovale. Just in front and medial to foramen ovale you have the foramen rotundum. Rotundum called so because it is round in shape. This is the foramen rotundum. Foramen rotundum leads downwards and forwards onto the pterygopalatine fossa. Then you have this fissure. This is the superior orbital fissure, which is an elongated triangular fissure. It is in front and lateral to foramen rotundum. This is foramen rotundum. This is the superior orbital fissure. And it is under the overhanging shelf of the lesser wing of sphenoid. This is the lesser wing of sphenoid. Under the lesser wing of sphenoid you have the superior orbital fissure. Actually, superior orbital fissure is located between the body, the greater wing, and the lesser wing. You have the superior orbital fissure. And in the orbit you can see this. This is the superior orbital fissure, right? This is the inferior orbital fissure. This is the superior orbital fissure. So you can see that, okay. So this is the superior orbital fissure. So I repeat, you have your superior orbital fissure, you have your foramen rotundum, you have your foramen ovale, you have your foramen spinosa. Of this superior orbital fissure, as you have seen, it is leading into the orbit. Foramen rotundum will lead you to pterygopalatine fossa. Foramen ovale and foramen spinosum, you can visualize it in the base also. Here you can see this is the foramen spinosum very next to the spinospinal, and this is the foramen ovale. Okay. So that is regarding the upper surface which lies in the middle cranial fossa. This is the upper surface. Okay. Then coming to the lateral surface, this is the lateral surface. As you can see here, this is the lateral surface or the infratemporal surface. So if you see here, you can see that the lateral surface or the infratemporal surface is divided into two. This is the temporal surface and this is the infratemporal surface, and it is divided into two by a crust. That crust is known as infratemporal crust. So this is the temporal surface forming the This is the temporal surface and this is the infratemporal surface. These are divided by a crust here. That crust is known as infratemporal crust. So that is the lateral surface. I will show you once more. This is the lateral surface and lateral surface. Here you have the infratemporal crust which is dividing it into a temporal surface and infratemporal surface. Okay, this is the infratemporal surface. Then coming to the anterior surface or the orbital surface, it lies at the lateral wall of the orbit. This is the lateral, this is the orbit, this is the lateral wall of the orbit. So it lies at the lateral wall of the orbit and it separates the superior orbital fissure from the inferior orbital fissure. This is the superior orbital fissure, this is the inferior orbital fissure. And as you can see, the anterior surface or the orbital surface is dividing it into superior orbital and inferior orbital fissure. So these are the different surfaces of the greater vein. So you have the upper surface, you have the lateral or infratemporal surface, and you have the anterior or orbital surface. Now coming to the next part, that is the pterygoid processes. Pterygoid processes project downwards from the junction between the body and the greater wing of sphenoid. So it is projecting downwards from the junction of body and greater wing of sphenoid. Again here you can appreciate that these are the pterygoid processes. These are the pterygoid processes and it is projecting, these pterygoid processes are projecting downwards at the junction of body and greater wing of sphenoid. These are the pterygoid processes on either side. Okay. And you can see it behind the third molar, behind the last molar, you can see the downward projection of sphenoid, which is called the pterygoid process. Now the pterygoid process is divided into, it has got a medial pterygoid plate and a lateral pterygoid plate. This is the medial pterygoid plate and this is the lateral pterygoid plate, and this medial pterygoid plate and lateral pterygoid plate are divided by a fossa in between. That fossa is known as pterygoid fossa. This is medial pterygoid plate, this is lateral pterygoid plate, and in between you have a fossa that is called pterygoid fossa. Now as you can see, each plate has got a free posterior border. Can you appreciate it? This is the posterior border. So posterior border is free for both median pterygoid and lateral pterygoid plate. Now the upper border of the medial pterygoid plate will expand to enclose a triangular area. That triangular area, the triangular depression is called scaphoid fossa. So I repeat, the upper border of the upper end of the posterior border of the medial pterygoid plate, this is the medial pterygoid plate, it will expand to enclose a triangular depression that is called scaphoid fossa, and the lower end has got a hook. That hook is known as pterygoid hamulus. Okay, so upper end expands to form a enclose a triangular depression called scaphoid fossa, and the lower end has a hook-like process, and that hook-like process is known as pterygoid hamulus. Okay, so that is about the sphenoid bone. Thank you.